PC. My name is Hannah Rowell. I'm a project manager at Griffin and Strong PC, and we are a public policy consulting and law firm that was contracted by the city of High Point to conduct this disparity study. Alrighty, so like I mentioned, I will have a brief presentation before I give the floor over to you guys. So first, I'll just give you a little bit about Griffin and Strong PC, who we are as a firm. So we specialize in procurement research, training, and supplier diversity consulting, as well as contract compliance and program development. We are the most qualified team in the industry with 6 Juris Doctors, 2 PhDs in economics, a PhD in social psychology, as well as anthropology. No study that has been conducted by Griffin and Strong has ever been challenged or overturned in the court. That's really significant to us specifically because disparity studies are a creation of the courts themselves. So just a brief objective of the disparity study. This is an objective research tool that is used to determine disparities in a governmental agency's procurement activities. And we're going to be looking
listening to this. I'll be right back then.
At certain race, ethnic, and gender groups across industry categories that have been defined by the city. So that would be construction, A&E, professional services, goods, other services. Those are the industry categories that we are looking at for this study. We then further determine whether, if there are any disparities that are that come up in our quantitative analysis, then we further research if those are statistically significant and if they're likely caused by the race and gender status of the firm owners, or if there are other race and gender neutral variables that could explain those disparities as well. The disparity study also utilizes anecdotal evidence. So that is our qualitative portion of the disparity study. And we also examine policy procedures and practices, as well as a law review. I'll go a little bit more into each of these elements in a moment. And then finally, the findings of the disparity study do result in recommendations that GSPC recommends to the city of High Point. And then if those are accepted, the intent of those recommendations are to be implemented as policy by the city. Okay, so this is the kind of chart of the overall study process for a disparity study. So we start with a legal analysis. This is where we look at all of the relevant case law for the specific disparity study. This ranges from the overarching cases such as Croson, which are the major cases that created what a disparity study is, and it goes all the way down to relevant circuit court legal cases. And then we go into our purchasing policies and procedures. This is where we conduct policy interviews with relevant people at the city of High Point, and we look through policy documents to put together a policy report. We then move into our, oh, let me check the chat really quick. Yeah, I hear that as well. So I'll be paying attention to see if there's somebody I can mute if there's that's the background noise. But thank you for that comment. Okay, so then we move into our data collection process. So we first start by collecting and cleaning data that is provided to us by the city. They provide us their raw data, and we take it, clean it, manipulate it, and then give it back to them, and also use it to start our actual analysis for the disparity study. We start with a relevant market analysis. So this is looking at where the city is spending the majority of its dollars. So we use a radiate out methodology where we start with the city itself and look at its spending within the city. And then we expand and expand and expand until we have found about 75% of the dollars being spent in that area. We then look within that relevant market and analyze utilization and availability. So the utilization of firms by the city and the availability of those firms compared to one another is what outputs our disparity indices. And then, like I mentioned, we further conduct a regression analysis to look and see if those disparities are explained by the race and gender variables, or if it's race and gender neutral variables that could explain those disparities. And then anecdotal evidence collection, that an element of that is what we're doing here today with our public meeting section. We also have focus groups, anecdotal interviews, one-on-one interviews with organizations. We have a survey of business owners. We have several elements of anecdotal evidence collection that we take into account, and that serves as the qualitative side to our quantitative study. And then, as I mentioned, out of this, we will produce a final report that has the findings, the recommendations of the study. And as I mentioned, those recommendations are made to the city. And if they are accepted, then the intent is for those recommendations to become policy. Okay. So this is a little bit of how you can get involved. Firstly, be vocal. Obviously, participating in the meeting here today is a great example of that, but also you can provide email comments, email me, or participate in other ways, a variety of other ways as I have listed here. We have a survey of business owners that is currently up. That survey is extremely useful. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to complete. And it's a great way for us to kind of quantify the qualitative experiences and testimonies that business owners would like to provide on behalf of the study. It's information about your business, about your experiences doing business or attempting to do business with the city. I do have a link for that survey that I will drop in the chat near the end of this session, so that if you have not completed it, you can go and complete it there, or if you have completed it, thank you. And you can share it with other business owners that may or may not have received that information yet. And then you can participate in an interview or a focus group session if you are contacted. Obviously, these sessions are not public as the public meeting session that you're attending today is. So if you are contacted for an interview or focus group and can participate, that's another great way. And then, of course, the public meeting session today. And then you can always keep up with study updates by visiting the study website, which I have listed here. And then you can send comments to the study's designated email. It is monitored by myself. I monitor it multiple times a week. You can ask any questions you have about the disparity study to that email. And then also another important thing to note is if you are uncomfortable with providing public testimony or comments, then you can always type up your comments in a letter or an email message and send it to that study email, and it will be used for the study much in the same way. And I will, like I said, drop the survey link, the link to the study website, as well as the study email in the chat once we near the end of this meeting. Okay, this is kind of just a general connect with us if you're interested. We have the Griffin and Strong Facebook page. That's our Twitter handle. And then we also have a website. And then once again, I've just listed the study email and study website here, but I will post that in the chat. Okay, now we get to the point of this actual session, which is the virtual public input session. So this is where I will kind of take a step back, take a moment to let you guys take the floor and have conversation, share your testimony, piggyback off of each other's comments, and just have a really open conversation about your experiences doing business or attempting to do business with the city of High Point. The purpose of this session is to hear your candid testimony about your experiences, whether those are positive experiences or areas of concern that you would like to highlight. And once again, that can be about your actual experiences doing business with the city or your attempts to do so. Just a disclaimer that everything said during this meeting will be available for the public record, but GSPC's final report itself does not publish the names, the business names, or any other affiliations of individuals who provide testimony today. That's the same way for our focus groups, our interviews, as well as our, if you provide email comments, they're all treated in that same way. The process of today's session is that I will not be soliciting questions, but really just providing commentary only. Additionally, I'm not responding necessarily to any questions or commentary other than trying to gain any additional clarity that I might have for your comments. Like I said, the purpose is really to have you guys share your experiences, and have me take a step back and just listen. If you do have any questions that you would like to ask, of course, like I mentioned, you can share that to the disparity study email address, and I would be happy to address them there. So when you do go to provide comments today, if you would please begin by stating your name and your business name clearly before beginning your testimony. So sorry about that, a little bit of a spiel by myself, but I'm ready for you guys to take the floor. Anyone can begin by sharing their name, their business name, and then sharing their testimony.
I thought for citizens too, not just.
I'm sorry. I think we have several people kind of off mute, and I can't exactly tell if someone's speaking. Is anyone interested in going first, stating their name and their business name, and sharing their testimony about doing business or attempting to do business with the city?
I can go.
Okay, thank you.
Great. My name is Dehavia Medley. My business is D Housing Group. Fairly new as a business owner here in High Point, and I have been trying for 6 months to connect with the city of High Point to find valuable information to get my business up and going and to see how the city of High Point could assist me. But so far, after sending several letters and coming to the site or coming to the office, so far I haven't really got any responses that has been useful. I've had several different meetings, but so far, as of today, I haven't felt that I've gotten the information that I need to make me more productive in the community.
Okay.
I'll go next if I can.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Dehavia, for sharing that. If I'm not zoning out, by the way, I'm looking over here because I'm taking notes while everyone's speaking. But yes, whoever would like to share as well, please feel free.
Thank you. This is Miyako Sturtevant, MS Consulting Solutions. Many of you on this call probably know me directly from in and around the city. I am a business consultant in High Point. I am from High Point, born and raised. Definitely hearing Ms. Medley speak about her challenges in receiving resources, I will say is a common stance because we don't know where to go or who to ask or when to show up to get resources. And my hopes with this disparity study is that you guys can make it more transparent because there are resources that are available right here in town if people can direct others to go to and receive them. We are a minority-based growing business in High Point, but the minorities are at a disadvantage from receiving opportunities because I don't want to say the powers to be. I'm gonna keep it light. I'm gonna keep it light, and I don't want to get too frank because I can. But the powers to be that's at the city of High Point, City Hall, Thrive, wherever you want to call it, it's not readily made available to the public in different areas, so that people know where they can go and where they should go. Now, there's open gateways everywhere around the city that you can walk on the door. But the problem that I've been seeing since I've been a business owner here is that the open gateway is not actually open to everybody. And a disparity study, I think, is going to kind of help channel that and, address those challenges. But I will tell anybody that's on this call, make sure you submit that survey. Be intentional when you submit that survey. Don't hold your breath. Be intentional because if you have a business here or if you're opening a business here and you wanted to move forward and you wanted to thrive, put your feedback in that survey so that the people that's doing this disparity study and are going to pass it along back to the economic department at City Hall or wherever, they can receive that feedback, because without the feedback, they'll feel like that there's not a problem when there is a problem. And we all know that there's a problem. So make sure you guys submit that survey, give it to everybody that you know, and make sure it's submitted within a time frame that is fresh on your mind so that you can give your feedback. But don't be afraid to say that there are issues that you are experiencing and let it be as though there's not, because we all know that there are issues for us as minorities. But, you know, like I said, my hopes is that this disparity study is going to bring awareness so that some action items can be put together to implement going forward. But I'm glad you guys have showed up. I wish there was more participant than it is here. But you know, it is what it is. So for the ones that are here, take what you get from here and take it back to the streets, because you know me, I'm going to talk about it and make sure that people are aware that Griffin is Strong is here to work with us in the city to make sure that we get the opportunities that we need.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Miyaka, for sharing that.
No problem.
Alrighty, I think Suzuki, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, but I saw that you had your hand raised first.
Yes, that's okay. Juji Win, and I have an art business. I recently launched my business 6-7 months ago. And I'm original from Europe. I'm an immigrant, but a US citizen. And I truly believe that High Point City is completely overlooking the local artists and makers. So I'm a visual artist, but I have friends who are furniture makers, fashion designers, and other than we have the High Point Arts Council, we have no opportunity to have a co-sharing place where we can rent out affordable studio spaces. Compared to Greensboro, Durham, and Raleigh, they all have this type of facilities. We are surrounded around factories in downtown. It's a ghost town between furniture markets, and we are desperately need not just spaces that's affordable, but also recognize that we are running art or creative business. So not just creating one piece of art. Hello? I think someone was.
Yes, I muted them so you could keep sharing.
Okay. And we also would I'm talking on behalf of my friends, so it's not just for me. We would like to be part of the ecosystem of the furniture market. That's something I'm very vocal, and it got up to the city level, and everyone is saying, yes, we need to do something. However, it's the needle is we're moving really slow, and I'm hoping with these big plans, you know, how they're planning to redesign the city and more focusing on small business owners, that we as the creatives, we are also included this. And can you imagine if the downtown would have an art district with all these makers studios? Then it's not just beneficial for us to run professionally our businesses, but it's beneficial for the community, because we would have an open studio. There's a social involvement, right? Families and even outside visitors can come to the town and experience the diversity of our creative community. And when we have a furniture market participation, then we have a professional space to invite potential buyers. Right now, everyone is working from their garage, from their spare bedroom. We cannot run a business like that. We will never be taken seriously if we don't have something like that. And we cannot afford renting out a space for $2,000 per month. So I'm hoping the city will invest in, and they want to retrofit the downtown, that they will buy a building and they providing this type of options for us to thrive. This is beneficial for the town, for everyone. Everyone would win. So that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Ms. Wynn. Okay, Tony, I see you have your hand raised next.
Excuse me. Thank you, Hannah. My name is Tony Graham. My company is Becompose Consulting Ltd. We just incorporated in the state of North Carolina and the city of High Point in March. So we're a upstart organization. And really, I'm here to learn a lot more than speak on my experiences, because I have not had the opportunity to contract with the city. I would like a more transparent RFP process. You know, these are some of the, you know, making sure that our companies have the proper information for going into these bidding processes. We have a tendency to be on the back end a little more reactive instead of proactive. So I'm hoping that this study will start to give direction to upstarts and existing MBEs in the area, that we can start looking at what are the requirements. So are you looking at MBE certifications? Are you looking at various things for minority businesses? Because as a minority business owner, I would like to see a lot more for Black businesses and other minorities, more opportunities, more transparency, and you know, kind of walk some of us new folks through the process, because when you don't know, you don't know. And we know that traditionally companies that are in the pipeline, if you will, are kind of regurgitated. They're resolicited. They know the process. They know the ins and outs, and you see a lot of the same companies over and over and over in the procurement process, gaining these contracts and these awards. So definitely want to see a lot more communication with existing businesses and upstarts. Thank you.
Of course, thank you so much for sharing. I'm gonna check the chat just quickly. Okay, we just have some agreements. I am having a bit of bad weather here, so if I do cut out at any point, I apologize. But we will keep going along. I see Bettina Bullard, you have your hand raised.
I do. Thank you so much, Hannah. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I appreciate Griffin being a strong company that can stand forth and raise the voice of a lot of people that have been hurting for a number of years. In the disparity study, it already showed that there were things that were intentionally done to hold people back for a number. Zuzu, when she was speaking, I got the opportunity to meet her earlier this week, and it was in town. But what I am aware of is that there are 4 sides of town. There's a north side, a east side, a west side, and a south side. Now, we are so behind being a company, the furniture capital of the world, now the all-American city, the city. Our downtown, yes, needs to thrive, but there are buildings and there are opportunities for us to incubate different businesses, resources, co-oping workspaces, educational workspaces in buildings that have not been used on the east side of town. On the south side of town, these spaces that run longer. Of course, we're going to say this, I think we've heard this prior to, longer than that 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. so they can maybe get outside of the Triad, outside of High Point, North Carolina, outside of High Point, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, as a business owner, partnering. Tony said so eloquently that there are opportunities out there, but if you don't know that you need a capability statement or how to put an RFP together, how is it that we could compete? So it's like we have people that can do the job, that can do it well, but there are certain idiosyncrasies that are not made aware to us to be a, or to some, I'm not going to say to, because some, once you learn things, you know, and then you got to fight just to get inside the door. Zuzu also had stated that there are all these buildings downtown, they're empty most of the year. You only have, what is it, Nomad, a wine bar. Where is a mentoring process that can get us inside other than to work for the market when it comes into town? Where is the opportunity that says, okay, we're going to take 20% of this business that's making multi-million dollars per year and will give us the ability to bring in 3 or 4 small businesses in the field? Because you have one business that is in a certain area does not mean that it is fulfilled. There are multiple businesses that can add value to what city, the all-American city, has to offer. We're strong, we're bright, we're brilliant. And sometimes when we can't compete with some other companies because either we don't have the resources. And as Miyaka said, there are resources out there, but how do we know where to look for those resources? Who is saying, okay, there's certain people that have information, but how can we access it? And how do we know where to look for that information? I got to say it again, one doesn't mean fulfilled. We need multiple, and we need them in different parts of the city, not just downtown. I'm glad that downtown is finally thriving and doing some different things, but some of those ideas came from small businesses. And so we still.
Bettina, I think you're breaking up for me.
Okay, so I'm not sure how much you were able to hear, but I was just specifically stating that there's a lot of money that's being poured into High Point in certain areas, but there is a north side, a south side, east side, and a west side. And I would like to see hubs or departments or opportunities that will foster mentoring or partnering for these small businesses to build other small businesses, but have the ones that have the funds, that have to be able to say, here, let's mentor this. Let me show you how to do this. So let me help you with this. And you get a piece of this so we can share this wealth. That wealth needs to be shared, not just distributed to the same people over and over again.
Okay, I understood you perfectly that time. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you for sharing, Bettina. Phyllis, I see your hand raised next.
Yes. Can you guys hear me? I had to hop into my mobile office.
Let me turn my volume up just a bit. It's a little low. But I think, will you say something again just one more time?
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, my name is Phyllis Bridges. I'm a small business owner in High Point, native of High Point. I started my business in 2008 as a African American art gallery. So I started out as a for-profit, and in 2017, after years of growing my business, we are now a nonprofit. One of the things that go on in High Point that really, really frustrates me is that when it comes to funding of grants to nonprofits, that these grants go to the same organizations all the time. I have done numerous events, programs within the last 15 years, and not once have I ever gotten a penny from the city of High Point to support anything that I've done. High Point is very cliquish, and it's really, really showing. It's really showing. And that's not fair when you have people who are bringing services to the city that's not in this city. And it was hard to bring some of these services because there are specialty services to this city. So it's not fair that the same nonprofits, and this has been going on for years, do not get any kind of financial support. And then they want to have you to jump through a bunch of hoops to deter you. And I'm speaking from firsthand experience. Or you have people that, and a couple of folks have already touched on this, they're asking you to submit this and submit that when you may be calling it by a different name. So you don't even know exactly what they're talking about. But you hadn't went, and then when you spend time doing your research, then you come to the conclusion that, oh, that's what you're talking about. You're just calling it something different. So the language, the business language is very confusing in High Point. Some people tell you, you need to do this, and need to do that. You need this type of financial support. And if you have a specialty business, none of that even pertains to your business and what you need to show to get funding. Yes, High Point is calling itself international, and they've been doing that for years, but they're fixated on the furniture industry. A lot of people, if the only thing you know is furniture, upholstery is gone, but if all you know is furniture, how can you help me grow my business? My business is totally different from furniture. It's not even in the field of furniture. So we need people who are more educated, more worldly educated in business, so that people can be given the right information as far as what type of financial report, things of that nature that they need to provide. Because High Point is new coming into this type of business, growing internationally. And a lot of people who are running this city, they're not aware of all the requirements that other businesses need, because it's not pertaining to furniture. But the main thing for me, High Point is cliquish, and they are not spreading the wealth like they should. It's going to the same people all the time, and I'm not the only one that knows it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Phyllis. Ken, I see you have your hand raised next.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. I wanted to point out a couple different things. One, I am registered with the Civic Plus portal, where the RFPs are actually published on a routine basis. And I mean, I've been on that list for a few years, honestly. What I noticed, the city spends millions of dollars on everything every year, on everything from duct tape and toilet paper to pens, pencils, event planning, roads and infrastructure, landscaping, what have you. But 90% of that stuff never comes through the RFP portal. Like, if you check the RFP portal on any random day, all you're going to see is, highly specialized, water treatment plant parts that are needed, and highly specialized engineering projects, and, like really big, highly specialized oddball things that are hard to find. You never find the bedrock services that the city uses every single day, that these small firms in our communities are more than capable of providing great services for. Event planning being one, web design being one, creative services for multimedia, print design, printing itself. You never see regular everyday bedrock purchases coming through the RFP channel. And, these are the type of services that, startup and small firms are excel at delivering great service in those areas. And there's just zero opportunity coming through that portal. And if you talk to anyone at the city, they'll say, well, everything goes through bids and this, that, and the third. And no, it really just doesn't. You have to know the right person who's going to call you and let you know, hey, we need this. You got it? Yeah, okay, I got it. And if you're that right person in the right clique to know the right people, then you can get some business. But the other 99.9% of people have no opportunity and no visibility into that ecosystem. So I wanted to just point that out. There's a lot of opportunity lost there. And then I wanted to point out separately, and just plus one what Ms. Bridges said, as far as the process of nonprofit funding and special event funding, and you're doing something that uplifts, the whole city and doing things for our kids in the city. And the process that you have to go through is okay, you need this, you need that, you got to submit this, you got to submit that. And it's a months long process, from the way they would tell you, or tell us, but then these white firms swoop in. Nobody's ever heard of them 2 weeks ago, but now they got all their little proposals and everything is there. And oh, okay, cool, $15,000 to you. Okay, great, nice to meet you, have a nice day. And you hear it in city council meetings all the time. It's like, and I mean, you can tell they've never heard of these people before, and they came from out of nowhere. And they'll get the money because so apparently they know exactly who to talk to and exactly what questions to answer and whatever. And I don't know where that information comes from. And that experience comes from many people that I've worked with, and people who've been in this city pouring their heart out for the community, doing things to uplift the whole community for decades. And there's just no visibility. So plus one on that. That's all I wanted to point out today.
Ken, thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to take a moment to check the chat before calling on anyone else. I just want to make sure. I'm going to take just a moment. Tahavia, thank you for your comment. Khalik Harper, thank you for your comment. I'll take these comments from the chat and make sure they're incorporated in the public meeting session notes as well. Thank you, Bettina, for your comment. Khalik, thank you again for your comment. And Dahavia again. Okay, great. Some great activity in the chat. Thank you, guys. Okay, back to Jawad Khan.
Hey, my name is Jawad Khan. I own Khan Auto Sales and Service in High Point. We've been in business for about 3 years. And one of the things that I dealt with at starting the business is the hoops the city make you go through. They make you go through so many hoops just to start off. And then once you follow the procedure, basically the code enforcement and all the law that so-called city has will come and bully you. For example, when we started out, we had a banner put up, just say, business open or grand opening. And they will come and say, oh, you need a permit to have this banner. Okay, we got a permit. And then after 30 days, they said this banner is expired and we can no longer allow banners. Yet you can go to Main Street till this day and you can look at, for example, Van York Nissan has banners all across their lot. You can go to Eastchester, Van York has banners all across their lot. So that's just one example where the city overlooks certain businesses based on whatever criteria. I'm not going to go there right now because we don't have enough time for that. But another thing is the city is focused on furniture market and HPU. Yes, it's great to have a good college in your city, but we need to put the citizens as a priority too. We can't just close a street because HPU decides they're going to close it off and make a new section or a new parking lot. If it wasn't for the federal government, the Daniel Brooks project would be part of HPU right now. And that means there's less housing for the citizens of High Point. Another example of this monopoly that goes on is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive was near HPU. They wanted to remove that because, according to them, they didn't want to make people feel like this is a bad part of the area. So all the businesses on Kivett Drive formerly had to change all their business paperwork, everything they had to do for HPU. And the city basically allowed HPU to do that on the expense of the business owners. And just about every business on MLK is basically a minority business. And if we sit down, I can point you hundreds and hundreds of things that goes on just like that. And I think that's why there's a lot of people here today, is they're not getting that equal opportunity that some of these big corporate businesses and buddy system that's going on in the city. And I think you need to sit down and investigate, because there's more than just a voice of the people. There's so much that's going on here that needs to be looked at.
Thank you very much for sharing your testimony, Jawad. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Alrighty. I'm going to check the chat just again, just to make sure there's no questions or comments for me. Tajun Pratt, thank you for sharing your experience. Understood. Dahavia, thank you. Michelle Matthews, I see your comment as well. If you want to provide any other information, any other experiences you want to talk about, please feel free, but I do see your comment in the chat. Okay. Jawad, again, thank you so much for sharing. Zuzi, I think I pronounced it right this time. I'm sorry. Please feel free to share again. If there's anyone else also that hasn't participated yet, has not had an opportunity to either drop anything in the chat about their experiences or provide their experiences and testimony in conversation, then please feel free to raise your hand or just come off of mute and speak as well.
Hi, this is Michelle Matthews. I am driving, so just bear with me. I don't have a personal business experience, but I'm appalled just with what I'm hearing. So all I'm doing is naming what I'm hearing. That's all.
Understood. Understood. Thank you for providing that comment, and please drive safely. Okay, Zuzi, did you want to add anything?
If someone wants to talk because they don't have the opportunity, I'm happy to wait the end of the line.
I think you can go ahead and share for now. Since I did just ask if anyone wanted to unmute and share, and we didn't have anyone new raise their hand or anything. You can go ahead and share, and then I'll check with the rest of the group again once you're finished.
Okay, I just want to follow up this topic regarding, I now have to spend probably 70% of my business time to go out and attend these meetings that I, someone, dropped the sentence and I overheard, and I was like, what is that about? And, can I go? So I mean, attending all these meetings that is not really out there and advertised, and I'm a witness of seeing the same people showing up. So whoever a gentleman was mentioning that they are the same guys, same people, it's true. I witnessed that. I'm still a new kid on the block. I'm only 3 years here as a resident in High Point, but the last 6 months, this year, I noticed that the same people and who that's how you're gonna thrive and accomplish anything in the business. And all of them are helping each other. So it's a very, very tight group. That's all I want to say. That so it exists, and I think this needs to be somehow addressed. More transparency, put on the site, like this is exactly what you need to do as a small business owner. These are the meetings, like really like advertising it everywhere and really inform, because it's a very, very tight group, and all these companies and organizations are helping each other out, and the rest who's not informed or not lucky or they don't have time to go out, they left out. And that's why you have all of the people here explaining they are in kind of in the limbo, like they don't know where to go. And this is why the money is circling in the same group. That's my observation.
Okay, Susie, thank you so much. I'm sorry, did I cut somebody off?
This is Michelle Matthews.
Okay.
One of the things that bothers me about the city is that we call ourselves an international city, but if I drive through High Point, there is no artifact that really celebrates the diversity that is within the city.
Not anymore.
Okay. I can't tell that this is an international city. We don't celebrate the cultures that we have here anymore. We don't integrate them. Everybody is siloed, and the only place that I could say I could put my hand on in the city and say that there's going to be some type of integration of culture, of gender, of age, It's probably the YWCA. Everything else is focused on, I've heard people talking about High Point University. Yes, this is a college town, but before we had High Point University, there were people here. There was a culture of the city that seems to have been sold out to what is brand new and shiny. You know, so that's my comment. I think that it just does not stand up to what we want to call it. And there are people who keep trying to, and it doesn't seem like they're being supported in the efforts to do that.
Thank you, Michelle, for sharing.
This is Phyllis Bridges again. I would like to piggyback off that comment, and it is so very true. High Point took it upon themselves to claim that title of international years ago, but I don't think they really understood what international meant. And even now that they went forward to receive the honor of being called an All-American city, no, High Point is still divided. You still see the divide amongst the different ethnic groups, races in this city. So how can you be international when you only cater to certain people? So I don't know what some folks' version of All-American is, but you do not see that in High Point. And I thought it was kind of cute and kind of funny that they went that far to do that when you're not representing everyone as if they're included with the going forward of High Point, the growth of High Point. Again, High Point is very cliquish and it's really, really showing. So I don't see that being all American. There's most definitely the haves and the have-nots here in High Point.
Indeed, indeed.
So how do you grow a business when if you're not in these cliques and you don't meet certain people's standards who don't know anything about your business, don't even know how to operate or run your business, decide who gets money?
Thank you,
So
Phyllis.
as far as the cultural piece, I've been trying to do that for decades now. And again, no kind of help from the city of High Point. None.
This is Lavelle McMichael. I put in the chat my comments, and I feel like there should be, well, one, we've already done studies, and so I believe this is just a part of the process, but it seems like we spend a lot of resources on studying what we already know. And so those resources that are going to pay for individuals to do a study should be being poured back into the community to help them do capacity building. And then I feel like funding should be to scale based on the size of your business. So smaller nonprofits and businesses will get more money than the bigger ones that are already profitable, so that they can build capacity. And then there should be parameters around that, right? So if I get more, then maybe I'm putting out a report more about where those funds are going and how it's making me more profitable, so that at some point there is equity in the sizes of organizations based on the distribution of the money that's being given out from year to year.
Thank you for that comment, Lavelle. I'm going to check the chat just again.
While you're checking the chat, that's one of the things that I would like to speak on, Lavelle. There are people that have been here for years, like Phyllis, that have been on the grind and that have been promoting and that have been forging forth through business. And what I would love to see in High Point, because it's not just about me, it's about us, it's about the we. How do we go back and we help those businesses that have been standing here for so long and give them the assistance that they need as well? We talk a lot about doing things in this dispute are coming along. But what about the people that have been here and that have been working and that have been being looked over and that were a part of that intentionality of being discluded? I would like to just make sure that as we're going forth and building for others, that we don't forget the shoulders of who we stand on.
Thank you very much, Bettina. Okay, check the activity in the chat. Is there anyone else who would like to provide a comment in the chat or piggyback off of any of the great conversation, comments, testimonies that have been provided in this evening's discussion? If you have something new that you would like to share, a personal experience of your business that you would like to share, or if you would want to add on to anything that has been shared, then this is definitely a great time to do so.
I would like to add on to what Ms. Bullard just said. That, you know, and again, acknowledging back, and this was part of my initial comment, you know, you have firms and nonprofit agencies that have been, you know, operating in the city for decades, you know, with no help, no support from the city whatsoever. And I think one feature of that, well, I don't want to say feature like it's a good thing, but one of the side effects of that is now, you know, like for me personally, I don't even really attempt anymore to do business with the city. You know, so, you know, I'm here today, you know, I'm paying attention, but at the same time, you got people that, you know, in our community that, I mean, they're not even looking for the city to do business with. I mean, you know the answer already, so why would you try? Why would you spend valuable time and effort even, you know, filling out an RFP or, you know, attempting to set up a contract with the city? So there also, I feel like at this point, there also has to be outreach for those firms that have tried and tried and tried and tried, found no success, and now they're not even trying. You know, you had to reach out to them and say, okay, look, you know, we came to Jesus, and let's try this thing again. You know, if there is any change that's going to actually come from all of this, you know, another study. But you know, if it's going to be made real, then that's one of the ways that it has to be made real. Is you have to actually go back, wind the clock back, and say, okay, look, these are the people who've reached out. These are the people who've attempted to do business with the city. You know, are you, you know, available to, you know, put your bid in for this or this. So that's something I wanted to highlight and add on to that.
Thank you very much, Ken. Valda Ford, I saw that you came off mute. I wasn't sure if you wanted to provide testimony or any comments as well.
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Tony, I see you have your hand raised again.
Yeah, just kind of like a final comment. Listening to some of fellow participants. Just the fact that we need this disparity study says a lot. You know, I mean, I think I heard Ms. Bridges say that like a tale of two cities, like the disparity between the haves and have nots is insurmountable. It's ridiculous. So, you know, I'm hoping that some of the things that come out of these discussions and the research that's being done are actual actionable items that's going to assist the people that's on this call, the other businesses in the community, help to recruit other businesses, you know, help to expand our local businesses outside of this region, you know, just a lot of effort to make sure that we have sustainable, viable enterprise here in High Point for minority businesses. So I mean, I'm really, really, really hoping that this whole process, this whole project, comes to fruition into something that's going to benefit existing and future um, minority owned businesses. And I appreciate your time. I really appreciate everybody's comments.
Thank you very much, Tony, for sharing your comments as well. I did not even realize that we have hit 7 o'clock already. I wish I would have put the survey link and all of those information in the chat before. I'm sure we've lost some people. It's getting 7. I'm sure it's dinner time for some people. So I will put that information in the chat quickly. But I'm also going to send a follow-up email to everyone who was in the meeting today, just to make sure that everyone gets those resources as well. So if you will please bear with me while I get that information put into the chat. Okay, so there is the survey link, the survey of business owners, as well as the designated study email that I mentioned that I monitor, as well as the study website, which has any information about the disparity study, who Griffin and Strong is, any questions and answers are available on there as well. So yes, as I mentioned, if you do get another email from me, I will be following up with everyone who participated today just to make sure everyone has those materials. Thank you everyone so much for your open, candid, and honest comments and testimony that you've all provided today. This was an extremely great participation, and everyone provided extremely valuable comments for this disparity study. We do have another session at lunchtime, 12 to 1 on this Thursday. If you know any other business owners or anyone who you recognize wasn't here today that you think would like to participate in that, then please do spread the word about that. And I think you can find the information either on you can definitely find the information on our study website, but I believe the City of High Point has posted about it as well. So yeah, those are my final comments, but if anyone else has any other last comments they would like to provide, I don't mind staying over time, so please feel free.
I do have a question. So I noticed, I mean, you're kind of just taking everything down, and I definitely appreciate that. But if you could answer, the result of this conversation tonight, is there going to be a document that's available to kind of list some of the concerns that were discussed here? And like, is there a way to track that, like, as throughout this process, like, okay, concern a b c d, and ultimately by the end of this process, what are the suggestions specifically related to address those concerns?
Yeah, Ken, absolutely. Thank you for your question. So yes, as you noted, I have been taking notes. The session is also recorded. So we have an anecdotal analyst who will watch this recording back, look through my notes, look through the chat, and combine that with all of the other anecdotal evidence collection that I mentioned previously. And she will write up an anecdotal chapter, which will be a part of the larger disparity study. Now, it's up to the City of High Point when we produce the disparity study for the City of High Point. That is their property. That is what we have turned over to them, and it is their option if they make that available to the public or not. So the notes that I'm taking today and the information that we collect during the anecdotal evidence collection process, specifically the action items that have come up over and over again in this discussion, will be turned into recommendations that GSPC makes to the city, which, as I mentioned, we have the intent for those to be implemented as policy if they're accepted.
Will the community have will you have similar sessions to this as those solutions are being crafted?
I am not 100%. I think for the anecdotal evidence collection process, that's more so just staying with the anecdotal evidence portion of the disparity study. So as we're putting together the public meetings, focus groups, anecdotal interviews, things like that. If we have a findings and recommendations presentation later on, and it is, say, to the council or the committee, and it's an open session to the public, then that would be a way that the public would be able to kind of see the findings and recommendations at that point. But that's really all I can say about that.
Okay, but do you think? I mean, is that like after it's finalized, or is that going to be, or are those sessions going to be held as it's being drafted and modified and perfected?
That would be after it's finalized. So these sessions are for everyone to get their information and their input and any recommendations that they have to the city out
I see you
now.
still out. Congratulations.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much.
Well,
I have a
then I would make that
Can you
as
drop it?
I would make that as an additional comment that I think as you're taking notes on anecdotes and stories, I would make the suggestion that as the recommendations and potential policy, are being drafted, you need to have these same sessions on the back end as well. Like before that document is finalized, before those recommendations are set in stone, you need to come back to the community and say, are these sufficient? And maybe explain the reasoning behind the suggestions and see if there's any blind spots. That's a suggestion for me.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
okay.
Of course. Thank you. Yeah, I've taken that note down.
Can you drop the link for Thursday's registration in the chat?
I sure can. Give me 1 second.
And with the survey that's in the chat, you wanted us to complete that?
I'm sorry.
Hey, how are you?
I'm sorry. Whoever just made a comment about the survey, can you please repeat that? I'm sorry.
The survey link that's in the chat, are you asking that we complete that survey? Who is that survey for?
Yes, that survey is the Griffin and Strong City of High Point Disparity Study Survey of Business Owners. So that is another element of our anecdotal evidence collection. In the same way that we're having this session right now, the survey of business owners is also another part of our anecdotal evidence collection. It's just more of a quantitative way to quantify the experiences of business owners and things like that. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to complete, and it is just a questionnaire, a survey about your business and your experiences attempting to do business or doing business with the city of High Point.
Awesome. And can we send that out to others, businesses that may not be able to join these public sessions?
Absolutely. Like at 100%, please send it out, spread the word, send it to other business owners that you know. We want as many people as possible to be able to fill out that survey and provide their input. And then
I know you're doing a lot of things virtually. Are they going to do any community canvassing to businesses that may not have the capacity to end these methods yet? So, like, how are we going to work on that?
Yeah, I can take that note absolutely to the city. The city of High Point is our client, and they determine what we have virtually and what we have in person. And it was their preference that we have both of these public meetings virtually. We have usually experienced increased participation numbers when we have meetings virtually rather than in person. But I can obviously mention that to the city and mention that there is a desire for in-person meetings as well. And that registration link, I should have named what it was in the chat, but it's the random Zoom link that I just dropped in the chat. That's the registration link for Thursday's session.
Okay, so if I'm sending, can you hear me?
Yes.
So if I'm sending this out, I can go ahead and send out the link for Thursday, but even if they can't, they'll be able to do the survey. The other thing I would say to last comment is it's important to inform the city that if they choose to do everything virtually, they leave out individuals who are not technology savvy that are struggling with business. And so if the purpose is to improve the capacity of these businesses, we have to figure out how do we meet them where they are. It's more convenient for us, but it may not be convenient for them.
Absolutely. Understood. Thank you. And yes, you can share that registration link with them. And even if they're unable, if there's somebody who hasn't participated in the disparity study in any way, shape, or form, anecdotally, whether they've never done an anecdotal interview, they've never done a focus group meeting, or participated in the 2 sessions this week, anybody can complete that survey of business owners. Are there any last questions before I let you guys get back to your evening? Okay. If not, then that's all I have for you. Thank you so much once again for being extremely participatory and giving great comments and feedback for GSPC and for the City of High Point and the disparity study itself. Thank you again for spending a little over an hour with me this evening, and I hope you all have a great rest of your night. And please email the disparity study email if you have any further questions or concerns. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.